Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news, and we've got some big updates for you. Harry Maguire deal done. Well, not quite here we go, but I think it's about to hit, and that has to put a smile on everybody's face this Wednesday morning. Not only is the Premier League about to start, but also we're about to move Harry Maguire on. And it's not about booze, it's not about, he's crap, it's not about anything like that. For me, this is about actually just hitting the nail on the head. This is logical. It's logical for his career. It's logical for Ten Hag. It's logical for Manchester United. It's logical for the fans. It makes a lot of sense. And I just think this is the brilliance of Ten Hag hitting home again. It's the ruthlessness. It's the accuracy. He's a hitman when it comes to transfers and removing people from this football club, because I can see 3 in the last 12 months that, maybe people would agree with all 3, but I probably would not have predicted all 3, because over the last 10 years, these players would be here until they wanted to retire. And I'm talking Ronaldo, De Gea and Maguire. For different reasons, 2 of those were legends, 1 of them isn't, but for different reasons, they'd be very difficult to traditionally remove out of Manchester United. And obviously, Erik Ten Hag has done that this time. I think it's absolutely incredible what he's done. We've also got a massive update in relation to Rasmus Hojlund. There's a bit of slow sports news out there about it. Even Faz was not slow sports news last night. He was talking about the news that was out there last night. But I've got a bit of an exclusive for you around that. You may have also seen what I had to say about this transfer window could go from being a what I would say is a 6 out of 10 up to 9 out of 10. I tweeted that last night and then went to bed. I did mean to actually write a little bit more, but I fell asleep because I've been up in Manchester yesterday, so I was very tired. So I can give you the update on what I've heard around that and why we could go from a 6 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10, which would be huge. So I'll give you that detail as well. As I say, we've got the big update on Rasmus Hojlund. Wan-Bissaka new contract. There's a Mason Greenwood update as well. So there's absolutely loads to get into on the show today, of course. But I just want to say, first of all, a big thank you to all of you who've watched my new podcast that went out yesterday. It's not specifically about Manchester United, although Manchester United does get referenced in it. But basically, it's called Goldbridge Saves Football. And it's a podcast that many people have been asking me to do for a very long time, and I have now done it. So if you want to listen to that, the link is in the video description. Download it and listen to it at your leisure. I was listening to it myself on the way back from Manchester yesterday, and I really enjoyed it. Just give it a listen. Thanks for all your support on that. It's an independent podcast. We've done it off our own back from our own studio, and we're in the podcast game now, and we really appreciate your support. And obviously, when we do something, we want to do it well. It's very interactive. You can get involved in the podcast. You can get mentions on the podcast. Links in the video description, and it's in the live chat. Please give it a listen. Give it your thoughts. And if you enjoy it, please do smash a like on, or a 5 stars, or a comment on it on whatever podcast platform you're on. Really appreciate your support. Can't do it without you lot, so thank you very much. Let's get into this news. So look, this Rasmus Hojlund update is absolutely a star. It's hotter than the sun. Figure it out for yourself, but obviously I knew that transfer was going to happen a long time before anybody else, and I know what the update is with Rasmus Hojlund, but apparently there is. I think we're going to have to hit with Harry Maguire here. So Laurie Whitwell has tweeted in the last 2 minutes that Manchester United have agreed a £30 million fee with West Ham for Harry Maguire. Personal terms not expected to be an issue. Maguire had wanted to stay at Man United, but the chance of regular games, given his England stated, has proved compelling. So it doesn't look like it's quite here we go yet, but it definitely looks like they have agreed a deal in principle. And that Harry Maguire will be leaving Manchester United. Now, look, I know a lot of you say this when it comes to signing players. I won't believe it till he's holding up the shirt. I've got to be honest here. I won't believe this until he's holding up the shirt. I think the enormity of this deal is so big that you've got to get it right. But look, we heard last week that Harry Maguire thought that the deal was maybe a little bit, below him. But I think that this is exactly the right deal to do for Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire's Seb's going to be devastated. He's not here at the moment. He's at Holiday Club, and I don't know how I'm going to break this news, but yeah, I'm very, 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 very happy about this. I'm happy for Manchester United. I'm happy for Ten Hag, because I think one of the biggest things about the last 10 years of United has been their inability to move on. And what I mean is, if you have a house, a living room, yeah, and in the corner you spill some milk on the carpet, and the carpet's really nice, but you still spill some milk and you don't clean it properly, that milk will make that part of the carpet smell forever. You can get a flat screen TV, you can get the best sofas you like, you can put up pictures, you can put an open fire, you know, you can have a party. It will be an amazing looking room, but it will still smell of sour milk in the corner because you didn't clean it up properly. And I feel that that's what United have done over the last 10 years. Some would say they haven't spilt a glass of milk. They've had a cow living in the living room, letting it piss milk. Or do the cows piss milk? No, they piss urine. But you know what I mean? There's milk all over the place. But United have been terrible at that. I feel that Ten Hag has come in and removed the carpets. He's removing the stains of the past. And I'm not saying that Harry Maguire is stained milk, but he represents what many other players, you could say Pogba was the same, you could say Di Maria, you could say Fellaini, you can say Maguire now, you can say Rojo. There's been loads of players, countless players that we just haven't moved on, and Ten Hag has done so well to do that. I said a few weeks ago when Maguire did that tweet saying it had been a privilege to be Man United captain, but it had been taken off him. I was like, that's not a captaincy removal. You don't remove the captaincy from somebody that's staying. Because if you're not Harry Maguire last year, would you know if Ten Hag had removed the captaincy from him? Bruno was the captain. All right, he came on, they took the captain's armband. That was the only reason we knew, but he didn't always take the captain's armband. If Maguire was staying, there was never any need to take the captaincy off him. The minute he had that captaincy taken off him, the minute he did that tweet was the minute he was gone. And that, for me, is what's happened here. Maguire's gone, says Beth. Let me just message somebody while we're live. I've got this massive Rasmus Hojlund update as well. But yes, it's I expect that this deal will be a here we go very, very soon. I'm moving to London with Harry. I'm sorry, Dad, says Seb Goldbridge. And also, can't lie, Mark, you might have to praise Murta this time. Anyone who gets a decent deal for Maguire definitely deserves his accolades today. No, I'm not going to praise Murta. This is Ten Hag's summer. It's Ten Hag who's had the meeting with Maguire and told him to go. Maguire may not have gone. You know, someone's got to sit him down in the room and tell him he's not part of your plans. That's Ten Hag. Someone's got to persuade Hojlund and Onana and Amrabat and Mount. That's Ten Hag. This is Ten Hag's summer. I think it's a Ten Hag summer. Look, is £30 million enough? I mean, Murta madness, was he nothing to do with the £80 million signing in the first place? He was our director of football then. All right, we didn't have a director of football. We were still doing the role. So we bought a player for £80 million, and 3 years later we're selling him for £30 million. It goes down to one of the worst deals in United's history. But we had to get rid of him. This is a Ten Hag removal. He didn't spend £80 million on him. I think it's a shocking transfer from start to finish when you look at the money involved. 200 grand a week, £80 million, and we're selling him for 30. You got to take what you can get, but let's not pretend this is a good deal. It's a bloody embarrassing deal. It's less than 50% of what we paid for him 3 years later. But look, I'm just happy he's going. I'm not going to say that. 300 million for Maguire is terrible. 40 million, says Rory. I think he means 30. So yeah, I think with where we're going, with this, I think really, 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 really positive. We're not obviously in a bad place with replacements. I think it allows us to move on to the Todibo deal, which I think is very easy to read, there's a sense of shock, I've got to say. Is Maguire leaving? Mark says, enjoy writing. Yes, it's all breaking news. Manchester United have agreed a 30 million fee with West Ham for Harry Maguire. Personal terms not expected to be an issue. Maguire had wanted to stay, but the chance of regular games and keeping his England spot has become compelling. Look, of course, Harry Maguire wants to stay. And there's no doubt about that. Of course, Harry Maguire would like to stay at Manchester United. I mean, I don't see a problem with that. I don't see a problem with that at all. Prediction, Hojlund will be the flop of the season, says Arsenal. I'm talking about Hojlund in a minute. We're talking about Maguire at the moment. I have got no problem with Harry Maguire wanting to stay at Manchester United. I bet Phil Neville wanted to stay. I bet Nicky Butt wanted to stay. I bet Jesse Lingard wanted to stay. We're Manchester United. I mean, bloody hell. Who wants to go and play for West Ham when they could be playing centre-back for Man United? The reality is he's not good enough. I said this. It's not about... This is what I love about Ten Hag. It's not about what Harry Maguire wants or Fred wants or Donny van de Beek wants. Of course they want to play for Manchester United. I couldn't give a shit about that. It's about what Ten Hag wants. And this is what needed to change at this football club. For too long, we've listened to what the player wants. I don't want to go. I want to stay here and fight for my place. Hello, I'm the manager. I don't care if you want to come to training in a Barbie outfit. You're not. And you're not playing for this team. I'm in charge. Guess what it says on my door? Eric. No, manager. It says manager. I'm in charge. I don't care whether you want to stay. This is an elite football club. I guarantee you most of the Preston squad would like to play here, but they're not going to because they're not good enough. I don't care whether you want to stay. I don't care whether you think you're good enough. I don't. You're for sale. Bye. And that's what a manager should be allowed to do. Finally, at this football club, we're letting a manager manage. We are not tying his hands behind his back. And you know what? If you don't like Ten Hag or you want to get on Ten Hag's back this season, go ahead. Because we've finally got a manager that's being allowed to manage. I think for too long, you'd look at Mourinho, you'd look at Van Gaal, you'd even look at Ollie and go, all right, they're not good enough. But it's a tough job when you've got that board ahead of you. But finally, I think Ten Hag, he's removed Ronaldo, controversial. He's removed De Gea, controversial. He's got rid of Maguire, not easy. In 12 months, he's made 3 massive calls. You know, and look at what he's done. Won us a trophy, took us back into the Champions League. It's not rocket science. Let a good manager manage and reap the benefits. So, look, all I want to do is judge a manager who can manage, and he's doing a great job. As for Maguire, look, when it's here we go or official, I will do a video on Maguire because I've done it on other people. No, I don't do it on everybody. I don't do it if Tom Grant leaves or whatever like that. But if Fred goes or Maguire goes, I think they've had a big enough time at our football club, certainly over the last 3 years, that I'd do a video on it and talk about them. But we're talking about the deal here. I'm over the moon. I think it's great for everybody. I think it's right for him if he wants to keep his England place. I think it's a great deal for Ten Hag. I think you've got to remove these people from the dressing room that over the last 2 years have contributed to the toxicity. And I'm not, Ronaldo contributed to it as well. Maybe De Gea did. I'm talking about big personalities in a dressing room that fell apart. I'm not saying that Maguire caused it or Ronaldo caused it, but they were big personalities and that dressing room was toxic. So as big personalities, they should have been doing better. And I think Ten Hag has looked at that dressing room and gone, I want this dressing room in my model. I want the Martinezes, I want the Casemiros, I want the Antonys, I want people I know in my dressing room. And I'm here for it. I think this is how you build a club. This is what progress is. This is what a project is. I think Maguire was under the Woodward era regardless. I'm glad to see a manager being backed at Man United. Ten Hag is cooking something special, says Lil. It's a huge boost to the squad as well to move on from the mistakes of the past and build a new future. Watching from poolside in Santorini, says Lee. Love it. Thanks, Maguire, for the service, but it's time for him to leave, says Ray. Exactly. Slightly off topic, but with Maguire going and McTominay possible alongside Hendo and Elanga, is our domestic player quota a concern, says Samir. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. There's a lot to get into. Lovely bit of squirrel. Thank you very much for joining the Members Club. We've got 21,000 people watching because it's a big video this morning. There's lots going on. Tears in my eyes. Maguire news has got me bricked up, says Braden. And the best attribute surrounding Ten Hag's management is that he doesn't tolerate player FC. It's all about the unity of the team and the club as a whole. Supporters need to follow suit, says Joseph. And I really hope Marcus Rojo does a story post considering his comments in the past. It's justice, but thank you, Harry, for being our captain, says Liam Charmer. Look, I will say that. Of course, I I would wish Harry Maguire or any other player all the best in the future, but that future shouldn't be at Manchester United. Fabrizio says that West Ham have reached an agreement in principle with Man United for Harry Maguire on 30 million fee. The verbal agreement is subject to final key points on the deal structure still in discussion, but fee now agreed. Personal terms to be discussed soon. So we're not here we go yet, but we're definitely at the deal done stage with the fee. And look, you know what? From a club point of view. From a club point of view, a Ten Hag point of view, and a fan point of view, this is a big win. Massive win. But from a football club business point of view, I've got to say, it's probably a loss. Well, it is. It's a £50 million loss. We bought him for 80 and we're selling him for 30. It just has to be another ticket off as another crap United deal from the last few years. But Ten Hag's got nothing to do with that. He didn't spend £80 million on Harry Maguire. So we celebrate what Ten Hag has done. Podcast was great. Keep it coming. What did Will really say about Roy Hodgson? And if he was being ageist. And if Maguire leaves it, another previous manager's problems solved by Eric, says Jake. Yes. Well, look, last night I did a tweet saying that this transfer window could go from a 6 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10. And that's not just because I knew that Maguire was going. What I was told last night from a very, very good source was that Manchester United are seriously trying to sell Maguire and McTominay, which for me would take it from a 6 to a 9 straight away. No, I'm joking. Seriously trying to sell Scott McTominay and Harry Maguire. 2 midfielders would be coming in, Amrabat and another, and a centre-back, Todibo, and they're looking at a striker that could be a loan deal. So from last night, forget Onana, Mount and Hojlund. On top of those 3 signings, you'd have Maguire and McTominay go. Obviously, Fred and Donny and Henderson are going as well. So those 5 go out. 2 midfielders, a centre-back and a striker. Now, if that happens between now and August, I'll be stunned. But if it does happen, I would say that's a 9 because that's a ridiculous amount of work to do with 3 weeks left in the window. I don't see how you can do it. But that was what that tweet was about. I put a tweet out last night. This transfer window could go from a 6 to a 9 from what I'm hearing. So it would be Maguire, from this point, Maguire, McTominay, Henderson, Fred, Donny out. 2 midfielders, a centre-back and a striker, potentially on loan. If they do that, I'll give it a 9. I don't think they can get that done, but that's apparently part of the plan that United have between now and the end of the window. It remains to be seen if they can do it. Who would the second midfielder be? We know one would Amrabat. Would it be Tyler Adams? Would it be Onana from Everton? Would it be Lavia? Could it be somebody else? Who would the striker be? I don't know. I don't know those things. All I know is that. I guess we'll have to wait and see. In relation to Scott McTominay, so if you're just tuning in, Harry Maguire to West Ham is done deal. It's not, here we go, personal terms agreed official yet, but the agreed fee between Manchester United and West Ham is what is breaking this morning. Biggest news of the summer, says Wazza. And also props to Lindelof, working hard last season, showing he puts in the work for the club and pushed himself into Ten Hag's plans and his performances, says Liam. Loads of South African guys in the chat. I'm planning a huge exit party for this. Cape Town fans is already protesting heavy due to Maguire at Man United, says Clive. And Eric Ten Hag pulling rabbits out of the hat. He's doing far more work than he should do, says SK. Well, I think once we get bought and Ten Hag can actually have a say on recruitment, I think that would be great. I've got a Mason Greenwood update. We'll talk about that in a minute, but there's no reason to divide and upset the fan base yet. Let's Scott McTominay, update on Scott McTominay. There's a few people this morning, I mean, they can hide behind the Maguire story now, but they're way off with some of the stuff they're reporting. This Rasmus Hojlund injury thing. Can I just say about this while we're talking positives? Rasmus Hojlund injury concern that came out last night, and I know Faz spoke about it, and I know there's a lot of people talking about it this morning, but their information is inaccurate. This is absolutely, as I was saying before, hotter than the sun. It's A-star information in relation to Hojlund. His injury where he can't play twice a week, and they found further stuff after the medical. It's bollocks. It's complete bollocks. The truth of the matter is he has a little concern where Manchester United want to be extra careful with it. His injury that he has is not as bad as being reported. It's just about making sure that when he starts playing, he can play regularly and at the intensity that Ten Hag wants. So ultimately, I don't think we will probably see Rasmus playing for Man United maybe until game 3 or 4. So, I mean, considering the Forest game is game 3 and that's about 2 weeks away, I think we'll probably see him for Arsenal, maybe on the bench for the Forest game, maybe before that. But the update from United and from Hojlund's camp is that this has been way oversold. He's not even in pain. He's not even feeling the injury. It's just something that's there, that they're all aware of, that they don't want to just go, right, let's get straight into action, and then it could get worse. It's about managing it, protecting it, and taking the time with it. It's not something that's, he could play tomorrow. That would be a risk, but he could play tomorrow. The injury is not like, it's not like my bad back where you've got to do stretches and it bloody, go to bed for an hour. There is something there, but it is not as bad as people are saying. I mean, there was stuff last night about how, United missed it on the medical, or, he'll only be able to play 1 game a week for the rest of his life. It's just complete bollocks. It's a little bit of a problem that United are managing, and they feel that rather than throwing him in at the start of the season, let's give him another couple of weeks, and that's what they're going to do. And look, whether you agree with that or not, personally, I think United were fully aware of this. I think they made a decision, and the decision was, do we walk away from this deal, or do we sign him, and then in 2 or 3 weeks he'll be fully fit, and then we've got a 20-year-old with talent, and for 2 or 3 weeks, of course, you do what you do. So I wouldn't have any major concerns about this. That's really good information, by the way. It's not major, it's just precautionary, and I'd expect him to be involved sooner rather than later, which is obviously great news. Maybe it's 30 million instead of 40 so that West Ham can pay his large salary, says Steph. Also ironic that we'll pay more for Todibo than we were going to get Kim Min-jae for, says Steph. And according to Alex Crook, we've accepted 30 million as getting a lot of it up front, says Stuart Coker. And random question, but if we finish 4th this season, would that be classed as a worse season than last year in your opinion, says Kadam? Well, it depends on how hard the season is this year. Because if the season's harder this year than it was last year, well, 3rd would have been easier to get last year. For me, it's about points tally. United need to be going close or above 80 points this year, which is an improvement on last year. And if that's 4th, it's 4th. In relation to the Maguire deal, by the way, 30 million is what's been agreed, apparently, between West Ham and Man United. It's very worthwhile knowing that United, when they bought Maguire, probably committed the worst crime in transfers in English football history. We paid £80 million to Leicester and gave him 200k a week, almost making him unsellable, even though he's England's centre-back. £30 million is crap for an £80 million player, but he was never an £80 million player, and he was never a 200k a week player. So what United have probably done here is exactly what somebody just said in the chat. What United have done here is they've basically said, we'll take 30 million and we're probably paying 5 or 10 to Maguire to make the wage up. And in that case, you're really getting 40, but you're using 10 of it on the wages, because there is no way West Ham can afford Harry Maguire on 200 grand a week. So I would imagine United get 30 million pounds from West Ham, and we're probably giving 5 to Maguire to cover the wage. It's the only way you can do a deal like that. So look, I'm very happy about it. I'm sure many of you are. The big thing is what's happening with Scott McTominay, because David Ornstein last night was reporting about West Ham's interest in James Ward-Prowse, which is absolutely true. Assad says, Mark, I've played the game and Maguire will be great for West Ham. I don't mind if he is. I don't mind if it is. Trust the manager. There's no. If Maguire starts playing well for West Ham, I guarantee there'll be people saying we never should have sold him. I mean, Antonio plays well for West Ham. Should we get him up front? Jared Bowen plays well for West Ham. Should we get him in the team? Look, I think this is a good move for Maguire. I think it's a great move for Manchester United. But anyway, on Scott McTominay, is he now out of the deal? Well, this is the latest on McTominay. Again, very good information. West Ham have always been looking at Ward-Prowse. I believe they've closed the deal for Alvarez from Ajax. So why would they need Scott McTominay? Well, they still could buy Scott McTominay. That deal is not dead yet. It could well be if they get Ward-Prowse, but even then, it might not be. They might still go for Scott McTominay because there's talk of Paqueta going to Manchester City. So there's still an opportunity there. I'm told that the Scott McTominay West Ham talks are not over, but that Man United might have messed that one up a little bit because they put a price that was never going to be achieved by West Ham. Basically, Man United started talking about 40 or 45 million, which I don't even understand how it'd be worth 30. But I'm told that that deal isn't actually definitely over and that McTominay, like Maguire, is looking at it and going, well, first team football regularly, week in, week out at 26, 27 is something that I should be looking at doing. But there's even talk that Newcastle might look at McTominay as well. So that might not be over yet. Of course, if McTominay goes, we would then be looking at another midfielder as well as Amrabat, which for me would be music to my ears. But maybe we can't be too greedy. We'll have to wait and see. But apparently that McTominay deal is not over yet. Sujoy and Mojo, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. Keep in mind we have a new doctor. We might be doing things differently with injuries from now on, says Sujoy. Well, yeah, I mean, this would be quite big in relation to Anthony Martial, wouldn't it? So, yeah, it'd be interesting. Why don't you read my super chats, Mark Anthony? I tried to read them all, but sometimes they slip through. If you've ever sat and done a stream in front of this many people, you would understand, but probably you haven't, so, you know, you probably don't. Where's the news on Martial? What's the news on Martial, says Muiz? I don't have any on Anthony Martial at the moment. Only that this new doctor's come in from Arsenal and said that he thinks he can get Anthony Martial back fit. He must be bloody Harry Potter then. He won't have a stethoscope, he'll have a bloody wand. McTominay, Maguire, Fred, Donny, all out, pinch me, says OI. And I do wish Maguire all the best, says Neem. Well, I think everybody wishes him all the best, but I'm just glad he's woken up. Faz said at least £40 million for McTominay, says Jims. I'll have a chat with Faz because I've got no idea why Scott McTominay's worth £40 million. It's one of the biggest mysteries in football. But look, I wouldn't say it's over in relation to McTominay leaving Man United, and I would love him to go. I'd love him to go. So, you know, I was thinking about this morning. I wouldn't go this far, but if I had to choose between Maguire and McTominay going, I'd be close on that. I know most of you would say Maguire, but I would be close on that. I actually think Maguire offers more to Man United than McTominay. So I'd be over the moon if McTominay goes. I just don't know why we've priced him so highly. I've had a super chat here from Lookman. He says, I thought when Mark was streaming from his bedroom, he was going to start a new OnlyFans channel soon, but instead we got a podcast, says Lookman. And Eric 10 Hitman Heart, Hag. Get it trending, Mark. I love this manager and I'm buzzing for Monday. We're just talking about Monday as well. I mean, Wolves have just gone and their manager's left, Lopetegui. So everything's looking... It's a very positive Wednesday at the moment. Probably a wonderful Wednesday, we will call it. Because Maguire deal done in relation to fee with West Ham. We've got to wait for the official. And I'm going to be absolutely honest here. If there's one transfer that could collapse at the last minute, it'll be this one. And I know there's a lot of excitement in the chat. But I think if you've been watching the United stand for any period of time, you may well understand and you may well be with me when I say I am not celebrating Maguire leaving Manchester United. Well, I'm not celebrating it anyway because that's not, you know, it's not that for me. It's the right deal. I'm very happy about it and I back the manager who wants it to happen. But until he's holding up a West Ham shirt, I am actually not going to believe it because if this deal didn't happen, it's not like there's anywhere else to go. So I'm going to wait and be, you know, I'm not going to start giving you my opinion on Maguire's time at Man United or, you know, wishing him all the best for the future just yet because he's still a Man United player. But obviously it will be soon. Wait, has Maguire actually going, says Sam. So, no, look, breaking news from Fabrizio and numerous UK outlets that Man United have agreed a fee with West Ham. Maguire will now go and iron out the finer details of the move. Apparently, David Moyes has offered him the captaincy at West Ham as well, which I don't really know who the captain of West Ham is, and I don't really care. I suppose it was Declan Rice. So, look, the interesting thing will be what West Ham fans think about this. And if we've got any West Ham fans watching, I'm sure they're terrified. But I will say this. I think he'll be a good signing for you. Like, I don't think Harry Maguire is completely rubbish. He's just not a top 4 centre-back, and I don't think he ever was. But I still think that Maguire, at a club like West Ham, will do a really, really good job. 35 million each is about perfect. Just get the deals done, says Mojo. And Kyle says that's a shocking take, but I don't know what he means. Maguire wouldn't have left if it wasn't for Ten Hag, says Charlie George. No. I absolutely think that when we're sat here this morning, and I said it at the start of the video and I'll say it right now, if you want to smash a like on the video, you're smashing a like on the video for Ten Hag, because it's just absolutely the sort of manager that we've needed at this football club for a very long time. And the fact that he's able to... I mean, look, there's a hat-trick here. It's Ronaldo, it's De Gea and Maguire. And in our own way, I don't think any of us are happy with all 3 of those. Maybe 1 of 2 of you are, but look, if you'd said to me 12 months ago, Ten Hag's going to ruthlessly remove Ronaldo, David De Gea and Harry Maguire, I wouldn't have been happy about all of those. You know, I'd have been like... Well, I'm not happy about De Gea. I'm not really happy about Ronaldo. And I am happy about Maguire. But he's done it all 3. And I think that's the brilliance of management. Being a manager, you cannot please everybody. Being a manager, you have to have a vision that is your vision, and you have to stand by it, and you have to be backed and allowed to do it. And for whatever reason, Ten Hag has made those choices, and so far we've been very successful comparative to where we've been over recent years. He's made big calls, and he's been allowed to do them, and that's something that, you know, I will give credit. I don't want to say the G word, but I'm not talking about Greenwood, I'm talking about Glazers. I don't want to give any credit, because nobody wants to give the Glazers any credit, but somebody has signed off a £50 million loss there. Somebody has signed that off, and it has to be the Glazers. I mean, it's the most logical thing to do in football, but in some ways, I'm not going to praise them, because it should happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if they wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? It's the sort of thing the Glazers wouldn't do, and they should do. So I'm not congratulating them. I'm sort of like going, finally, we're doing fucking things that we should do, because he's never going to get any better. You spent £80 million on him. You're never going to get £80 million back, and next year you won't get 30. So they've done something very logical, and I think Ten Hag has probably persuaded them. I think he's probably sat down with Arnold or the Glazers and said, look, you won't sell him for 30 million because you paid 80, but you'll never get 80. You'll never get 70. You'll never get 60. He's on 200 grand a week. No one's going to pay that. Take the 30, because next year you'll be lucky to get 20. And I think Ten Hag has probably, you know, opened their eyes up to the fact that he can't be punished for the mistakes of the past. I think the new doctor for Martial has got the golden fleece, says Arkin. And Scott McTominay is no better than any Irish player. How is he worth 40 million, says Jason. Well, we'll see what happens with McTominay, but I've been told that deal with McTominay sale is not dead, and hasn't been confirmed as dead. So there could still be something that happens with that. There was talk of, well, if the Maguire deal's done, we're clearly not doing a deal with Maguire. With McTominay, but I don't think even West Ham would want to announce Maguire and McTominay at the same time. I think they'd want to do one after another anyway. So let's wait and see. It's a wonderful Wednesday so far. There could be more news, and let's not forget, you're still going to see Donny go, you're still going to see Fred go, you're still going to see Henderson go, you're still going to see Todibo come in, you're still going to see Amrabat come in. There's a lot going to be going on over the next few days and weeks. What made the club actually let Ten Hag manage? Why wasn't it for the same for the other managers, says Yuvia. And Mark, one of the best things about Maguire leaving is not having the English biased media noise around him all the time and 100 questions per presser, says Hedge. Mate, there'll be a lot of the UK journalists and a lot of the Man United journalists will be devastated by this news this morning. Let's take a moment for them. They will have to start thinking of better questions in the press conference now. Wish him well, but it never felt right, and this move feels like a heavy weight lifted from United's shoulders, says Joey C. Yes, okay, so Maguire, deal done to West Ham in relation to the transfer fee. It's been agreed. Let's wait and see how quickly this deal can get finalised. Remember, West Ham, I said this last night as well. Did I say it yesterday morning or yesterday morning? I said this yesterday morning. If I'm Harry Maguire, West Ham have got a game at the weekend. I want to play. If I'm going to West Ham, I want to play because I want to have a role in the points. I don't want West Ham to lose at the weekend. Then I want to be playing. So I think this deal could move really, really quickly. Some of the fans need to just trust Ten Hag. He'll make the right decision, says Charlie. The treatment of Maguire by fans stinks. Watch everyone turn on Varane now, says Charlie. Well, yeah, you know what, Charlie, you're actually right. You know, I don't agree with the booing of Pogba. I don't agree with the booing of Martial, and I don't agree with the booing of Maguire. I don't think Maguire was good enough for Man United, and I've said it time and time again. But if I saw him in the street, I wouldn't start shouting "you're shit" and booing him. It's football. It's not his personal life. I think that is a little bit too far. And yeah, there will be another scapegoat. For some reason, we have to scapegoat players who there always has to be somebody. And I hope that will stop. I understand it because they're not good enough, but at some point, if we're going to be successful, we should have a squad that we're happy with. And I long for the day that we used to have. You know, for most of my life as a Man United fan, you had a squad that you could get behind. You know, a squad that you were... It was very rarely a player in the Sir Alex Ferguson era that you were like, oh, fucking hell, he's coming on, this, that and the other. So we can get there. I think we slowly are getting there. For me, most of those deadwood players that make me go, oh, God, are potentially going to go this summer. There wouldn't really be anybody left. If McTominay, Fred, Maguire, Donny, Henderson, Williams, if those all go, there's not really anybody in that squad anymore that I go, oh, I don't really want them playing. You know, there really isn't. And that would be amazing to do that in 12 months. And that's nothing against those. I mean, I like Donny, I like Brandon Williams, I like Maguire, I like Fred, I like McTominay. I've got nothing against them as individuals. As footballers, I just don't think they're good enough for United, and they make me worry when they play. But if we can move those on in 12 months and go into a new season, and people will say, well, I don't like Eriksen, I don't like Anthony, I don't like Mount. That's your personal choice. But for me, I might not start some of those players, but I'm happy to have them as part of the squad. And I think that's the main thing, isn't it? Some of the fact we've done that one. Press quotient, question for Ten Hag next season. How do you feel about Maguire being left out of West Ham's squad today, says Ruben. Yeah. McTominay backed out the deal once he saw Maguire was going as well. Jokes aside, anyone who puts the shirt on deserves our support. Wish him well, says Nathan. West Ham just got Ward-Prowse. Will that affect McTominay's sale, says SK. I'm told that the McTominay exit for Man United is still a possibility, but it was always hanging in the balance because Manchester United are a bit concerned with what could happen with cover in the midfield. They've got Amrabat to come in for Fred and Donny, but if McTominay goes, have they got time to get a replacement in? And that's probably why they put a ridiculous price on him, but they'll never get that price again. Actually, in the last minute, West Ham have reached an agreement with Southampton to sign James Ward-Prowse. Fee is meant to be about 30 million, 4-year deal, and they're looking to get that done straight away. Ward-Prowse plus Maguire, key deals for the Hammers. So, I mean, that could be the end of the McTominay deal, but I was told last night that they were still negotiating. So, look, at the end of the day, Maguire's gone. And that's the main thing, isn't it? That's what matters in relation to that. And that's always a positive. In other positive news, Wan-Bissaka, new deal. Don't know what your thoughts are on that. That's apparently being talked about, even though, I mean, we don't really know what's going on with the right-back situation, but apparently that's going to go out. That's going to happen. But look, if McTominay doesn't go, Man United Man United have dropped the ball on that. For whatever reason, maybe Ten Hag, I don't know, but they've outpriced it. They've overpriced him. And we'll always know that we could have sold McTominay for 30 million. And I think that's a mistake if we didn't. But who knows what still could happen. Well, look, I have to talk about this. I mean, look, this might make people's day better. It might make people's day mood drop a little bit, but I have to talk about it. SK has mentioned about McTominay and Ward-Prowse. Dan says that Maguire was the symbol of an era of terrible business and the wrong culture at the club, playing because of your price tag and not ability. Thank you very much, Dan. Really appreciate that. As always, love it. So look, there's we don't avoid the news on the United Stand. We have a fantastic community made up of you. Make sure you smash a like on the video, of course. And effectively, what we're at here is that another story has come out from the Sun newspaper about the Mason Greenwood saga. Now, they quote a source, of course, and effectively what they're saying is that it's basically the same as before. And I'm only reporting the news here, so don't have a pop at me. So I'm only reporting the news here. And what they're basically saying is, I've took the key quotes, and now it's from the Sun. It's not from Neil Custis either, so I don't rate these sources at all. But people will believe a paper and a story if it fits their agenda. But I'm just going to say this. Basically, the key points from this article is that Mason Greenwood is desperate to get back playing and start playing football again. Manchester United are at the final stages of making their decision. They're looking at a buddy system because the manager and the players want him back and want to protect him. I think it's a dangerous article for a start. And I think anybody, no matter what side of the fence you sit on, would say that that's a really inflammatory article, and what a surprise it's coming from the Sun. Because their source is one person, and yet, for me, it's poor journalism, because they've got one source that's talking about 6 or 7 different things that they wouldn't know about. So it's somebody who knows that Greenwood's desperate to come back, but it's also somebody that knows that Man United are at the final stages, and it's also somebody who knows that the players and Ten Hag want him back. So that's 4 different sources, but you've got one. So there's an element of bullshit in there for me. To me, it sounds like it's coming from Greenwood's camp. That does, because the desperation to come back and play, obviously, is Greenwood's camp. Are we in the final stages? Well, we have to be. There has to be a decision. Is there a buddy system in place? Well, I would imagine there probably is, because that's just common sense. Are all the players and the manager desperate to have him back? I can't comment on that. I probably know the answer to that, but I can't comment on that. But I can't imagine that every single player in Ten Hag are desperate to get him back. I can't imagine that being the case, when you think that, while some of them probably will, some of them might be quite concerned about it for their own reasons. But it does also say, interestingly, that a loan deal is still an option for Manchester United. So I just think on this, and it's been a wonderful Wednesday, talking about Hojlund's injury not actually being that bad and Maguire leaving. So I don't want to drag the mood down, but it was in the news this morning, and it is a news show. Let's just get to decision time. Let's get to decision time, and then everybody can deal with their own morality or their own priorities, and we can all move on. I just think we all just need to get there now, because everybody just argues about bring the star boy back, get him scoring goals, or I don't want him back. I've seen the tapes, I've seen the video, I've heard the audio, I can't move past that. Yes, everybody deserves a second chance, but it doesn't have to be at Man United. All the different arguments can take place, all the articles in the media, all the discussions, all the call-ins, all the opinion can start as soon as Man United just make a bloody decision on it. And one thing I will say, please, Manchester United, do not roll a video out with him sat there with his kid and the girl. Do not do that, because I think that will damage you as a football club more than you can imagine. If you roll that out, it is what it is. It's just complete and utter positive PR spin. If you're bringing him back, you're bringing him back for your own reasons. You don't need to try and manipulate intelligent people with what you're doing. Just do it, put a statement out, and stand by it. Don't start rolling cameras and all sorts of stuff like that, because I think when we look back at what they did with what Maguire did with the BBC after the Greece thing, people will see it for what it is. It's a one-sided attempt to manipulate people's emotions. We're a football club. If you're making a football decision, make a footballing decision. Don't start getting involved in stuff like that, because it will bite you on the arse. It'll be a terrible PR decision. Make the decision, put a statement out, and stand by it. Don't try and manipulate people's emotions, because it will go really wrong. I'm just at the point where I want them to make a decision now. I don't see why we didn't get a decision a month ago. I actually think it's ridiculous that he's training on a local park with someone carrying his kid around, smashing shots over the bar on a bloody Nokia 10. How is that even happening? The season starts on Saturday, and you've got him running around on a local park. I mean, why is he not doing a training camp in Dubai? Like, you know, Jadon Sancho, Luke Shaw, in June, they're out in Dubai doing training camps on a proper phone. Why is Mason Greenwood running around a park in Manchester with someone holding his baby? I mean, I don't. It's all just very amateur. Just make the decision. Make the decision and stop sweeping it under the carpet. And then reap the whirlwind when you make the decision. Because I tell you what, some people will like it, some people won't. But by not making a decision, it's actually causing more of an issue, I think. So I think we'd all be in agreement on that. Maguire was the symbol of an era, terrible business and the wrong culture at the club because of your price tag, bar not ability, says Dan. We've had Mojo, who's just gifted 50 memberships. He's an absolute legend of the channel, Mojo. As I say, I think he's having a party. I think Mojo's having a party and we're all invited. Harry Maguire is leaving Manchester United. Hi, Mark, says Sean Hayes. It's worth noting that a loss, if any, on Maguire is only his remaining fee and contract on the balance sheet, which is left to be immortalised. Less than any fee received from West Ham being 30 million, says Sean. Carmine has gifted 20 memberships as well. There's a party going on in the chat. Press question for Eric Ten Hag. We've done that from Ruben. So, look, I don't want to miss anything this morning. So let me just summarise what has happened on this morning show. Probably the morning show of the summer transfer window, if I'm being honest. Make sure you smash a like. Everyone hit a like on the video now. We've got 3,000 likes. We could go to 5,000 likes in 10 seconds here. What a morning. 10, 9. Keep the count going. Smash a like on the video. So this is the summary of this morning's show. Harry Maguire, Manchester United and West Ham have agreed a deal, a transfer deal for around £30 million. Maguire will now talk about the finer details with West Ham in relation to wages, signing on fee, etc. We will get a here we go and official, hopefully, in the next 24 hours, because if I was Maguire, I'd want to be playing for West Ham in the weekend game. Especially if you're going to be the captain, you want to take control. Scott McTominay, Man United have overpriced him and West Ham have gone and bought James Ward-Prowse. I'm told that deal for McTominay isn't necessarily dead and there could be other clubs involved, but it's looking like United putting the ridiculous fee of 40 million has turned West Ham off. Should we have took the 30 million? Of course we should, but let's wait and see what happens. Rasmus Hojlund, back injury, ridiculous stories last night. I know Faz was talking about it. He was just talking off the news that was being reported that Hojlund has a really bad back injury. He won't be able to play 2 games a day. From very good sources, 2 areas, club and close to the player. This injury has been overstated. They were aware about it in the medical and the decision was that they would buy him and in 2 or 3 weeks he'll be as good as new. They just want to precautionary take a little bit of time. Apparently the player himself can't feel it. He can't feel any pain. He's happy to train, he's happy to play, but he's following the club advice. They just want to take a couple of weeks to make sure everything's okay. It's precautionary and it's not as bad as being reported. And we should expect to see Hojlund by the Arsenal game, maybe even on the bench before that. So great news around that as well. Wan-Bissaka, apparently there are contract talks ongoing. There's been another story about Mason Greenwood in The Sun. The Sun seemed to be the mouthpiece for Greenwood, so I don't necessarily believe a lot of it, but we do need a decision on that, and we need a decision on it very, very quickly. What else? Obviously, Fred, Donny van der Beek, Dean Henderson are still all going to go. And obviously, of course, what I was tweeting about last night, this transfer window could still go to a 9 out of 10. United, over the next few weeks, if everything went to Ten Hag's plan, they would sell McTominay, Maguire, Fred, Donny, Henderson, Williams, and on top of Onana, Mount and Hojlund, Amrabat, Tadibo, another midfielder, and a striker potentially on loan would come in. In my opinion, if they do all of that, it is a 9 out of 10. I don't think they can, based on previous years, but you know what? With Ten Hag in charge, he's having a bloody good go. And I think what he's done with Harry Maguire has been amazing. And I don't want to sit here celebrating and putting a party hat on because it will get read the wrong way. What I will say about Maguire is this is logical. Your career at United is over. You've had the captaincy taken off you. You're the 4th choice centre-back. The one thing you've got to cling on to is you are England's starting centre-back, and that will go very quickly if you stay at United. You've got to go and play football. West Ham give you the opportunity to do that. United have done the deal. And finally, Erik ten Hag is an absolute legend as a manager for Man United in the context of the last 10 years. Removing Ronaldo, removing De Gea and removing Maguire in 12 months is incredible in its own way. It is proper management. It is absolutely spot on that he's been allowed to do it. A manager should be allowed to make controversial decisions. He's been allowed to do that, and I think this is the summer of Ten Hag. We've got a list of players like Onana and Hojlund and Mount and Amrabat who are queuing up to come and play for this manager because he's persuaded them that what he can do. And we've got players walking out of the door that never would have been sold before but are going because Ten Hag's sitting them down and saying, I'm in charge, you're not part of my plans. So you better go on to your agents and sort of move out. Traditionally, we would listen to the player who'd say, I don't want to go. We're now listening to the manager who's telling them to go. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. We've had another tweet come out. It's been that sort of a morning, so let me just make sure I give you that before we go. Where would I find it? Okay, give me 1 minute. I'll be even quicker than a minute. Here we go. So, Manchester United have this is from Manchester Evening News. Man United have accepted a drastic compromise on Maguire's fee. Highlights his low standing at the club. He was good enough in an unsuccessful United side in his first 2 seasons, but not good enough for a successful United side. He was rumbled in 21-22 and never recovered. Todibo now is Man United's next topic. It's more of an observation piece, isn't it, really? But there we go. Make sure you smash a like on the video. We didn't hit 5,000 likes, you lazy gits. You're normally a lot better than that when I say smash a like. Fantastic. We will obviously be back. I think hopefully we will get an official here we go at some point today. But look, really positive news. And let's hope that can continue. I'm still hoping that McTominay follows him because I'm telling you now, if McTominay goes, we're buying 2 midfielders. And who that second midfielder is, I don't know. Tyler Adams, Onana at Everton, Lavia, I don't know. But that's what we've got to go for next. At this football club, we don't just sit and celebrate one thing. We go for the next thing. And that's what we need to do. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Legendary show. Absolutely enjoyed it. This is what it's all about. Reacting to these big stories that impact on us. Absolutely love it. Can I just say as well, if you haven't listened to my new podcast, give it a listen. Lots of people are really enjoying it. It's pinned in the live chat and it's in the video description. Independent podcast, out yesterday. Go and give it a listen and a download. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple and iTunes and all that one. Links in the video description. I put it in the live chat as well. Please do give us a listen and a review. Really, really helps. And look, it's for you. A lot of people asked for it. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's something very different. You can download it and listen to it at your leisure. Speak to you all in a bit. I'm sure we'll be back soon. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Check out that podcast. What a morning. Let's see what the rest of the day brings.